So we decided to talk about vaping because it's been a big deal at my daughter's high school.
Huge, yeah.
Huge. And I'm in a public school too in New York City. So, and I think the perspectives too between privates and public schools and how they handle things and what is happening with the kids in different schools. We talk about that a lot here as well.
Okay, so let's kick it off with some statistics that I looked up. And I'm going to share all of this in a, hi Vanessa, thanks for joining. I'm going to share all of this in a blog post recap as well.
Right.
So teens are more likely to use e-cigarettes than cigarettes. This is just the way it is right now. And right now, 9.5%, so let's just say 10% of teens are using, 8th graders are using e-cigarettes, so 10%.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot.
Right.
And then in 10th grade, it jumps to 14%,
Wow.
and then in 12th grade, it's at 16%.
Okay.
And then it's twice as common with boys as girls.
Really?
Yeah, so those were some facts to kind of start
Okay.
off with.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, Sherry, let's do some show and tell
Yeah,
as we
sure.
talk about what these are. So they were started, e-cigarettes were started by the cigarette industry to try and curb traditional cigarette smoking.
Mm-hmm.
That's the high ground. I think that's fantastic, great.
Yeah.
But what happened is something I think that
It's
they
evolved. It's
didn't
evolved
intend.
into.
So when the e-cigarettes first came out, they had the blue light on them. It was definitely marketed to adults.
Right.
They look
Right.
kind of ridiculous.
It was to help people quit smoking.
Yeah.
Right. That was the intent, and now it's becoming
now
a
this
candy, pretty much like a flavorful candy.
So
whatever,
a juul is a brand of e-cigarette, and
Yes.
this is Sherry has the juul.
Okay, so this is one. So here's the packaging. You can buy these in any bodega here in New York City. When you're walking down the street, it comes in this packaging. You get different flavors. This one in particular is a flavor multi-pack that has cool mint, Virginia tobacco, cream brulee, wow, and mango. So interestingly enough, the strength is 5%. So you want to look at that, and I don't know enough about it to know if another brand has a lesser percent of tobacco in it. But Juul specifically has tobacco. It comes with these pods, the flavorful pods that you then put into the e-cigarette, and
It looks
it's
like a
magnetic.
USB drive.
It does look like a USB drive, and these come in various forms. If you haven't ever seen them, some of them are very small, some of them are really pretty, but this is a standard one. And then you put the I'm not going to take it off and do it because we're not going to be smoking here today. But this this goes inside of. Actually, I can just do it right. So this one goes inside. Oh, it's look,
Sticky.
yeah.
It's very
Smell
fruity.
it. So this one is interesting. This is a.
That's mango.
It's got to be.
No, it's creme
mango.
brulee. It's creme brulee.
Oh, it is the creme brulee.
Yeah.
It does smell like creme brulee. It smells like burnt sugar.
Okay, yes, interesting. So the idea is to get the flavor. You're not supposed to inhale these into your lungs. You're supposed to gather the vape in your mouth and savor it. But I know a lot of kids are inhaling it, and I know Nicole has some interesting. We were talking this morning about some interesting statistics and what it's doing to your lungs as a result. We really don't know what's in this. We know there's glycerin in it. We know there's flavorings, but at the end of the day, it's not regulated, and I think that's the scary part for families.
Yeah, that
And
it's not
for
right.
moms.
And it's very addictive, is the other scary part. And it is also, and they're doing more studies on this, again, because it's new, but it is widely believed that it's a gateway drug for other things.
Yeah.
So
What goes on there?
I think that, we're all kind of kidding ourselves. We don't think that our kids have seen these in school or with their friends. And I think that the key thing is to arm your kids with as much information as you can possibly
Yes.
get. So,
And just be aware as a parent, like you find this, who knew? Really, if I wouldn't have bought this, I wouldn't know what this looks like. I think it's important just to know what these look like.
To know what you're
it's
looking
not,
for.
Yeah, it's not a USB.
so let's say your kid comes home and you find a Juul or another e-cigarette in their backpack, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Mom, it's just fruit flavored. It's pretty
Yeah.
harmless."
Right.
What would you say, Brooke?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you have to realize that there is nicotine in it, of some magnitude, and that's an issue.
5%.
I think that there's all this research about the popcorn effect of your lungs and what that can do to your lungs. And I think just the overall, you are inhaling a substance, we don't know what it is, and what the effects are going to be on. And like you said, if it's a gateway drug, then we're looking at what are you setting as your precedent today, and what's going to be the precedent.
That's right.
And I will also say it's widely known that you can alter a juul. Now, Juul does not make, currently they do not make any products with THC or cannabis in them, but there are lots of post-market pods that you can put into your Juul device that contain THC in them.
Right.
So also if your kid's just saying, oh, it's just flavoring, it may or may not be. As well. So they all contain nicotine.
Right.
That is and we know nicotine is addictive. I mean, that's that's it. So
but I think your point is, I think to Brooke's point, and you'd asked her the question, is like, how are you approaching this? What are you saying? And I think, it's about, you're focusing on, how is this going to be harmful to you? But I think really it's about the conversation. It's really not, it's not about a punishment, at least my perspective, it's not about a punishment. It's not about, this is horrible, that you're such a bad person, you've done this. There's some level of expectation that our children as adolescents are supposed to be exposed and experience these things, and so how do we have those conversations is really the challenging part. And yes, you can share all of the
statistics don't mean anything
to them. They think they're invincible, and so we don't know whose approach is going to be right or wrong. You have to know your kid, and you have to know what you feel comfortable talking about as well.
And I do think, kids are pretty darn smart. The science classes that they're taking now are much more advanced than the ones that I was taking. And I think sharing some of the information with them and then appealing to their brain power, I think is pretty powerful. As you were saying, the popcorn effect. So basically what is happening is these glycol, which is sugar, is coating the inside of their lungs. So the lungs are supposed to remove the bad portions of the things in the air, and deliver the oxygen to your blood cells, which is great. But so the cilia, these little bitty hairs that are supposed to be cleaning things in your lungs, get coated with the glycol, and we just don't. It's definitely going to weaken their lungs. It's going to change their lungs, and we don't know long term what's going to happen. And I doubt that any of us want our kids to be the guinea pigs for this particular experiment. So I will say, if you have a kid who's a smoker, this would be the one use, I guess I could say it's a good idea. If you're going to move them away from traditional cigarettes into this, that's probably the area.
What's less nicotine in it. But I think telling an athlete that information is really valuable. Hi, Nancy. How are you?
Nancy's saying that they try to have regular discussions about it
at home.
Yeah, and I think that's, it's definitely something you could do. And maybe just, to share, I don't want to support the Juul industry nonstop, but just buying one and saying hey, I know what they look like. Right. You probably shocked the socks off your kids if you brought one to the dinner table.
Yeah. No, but I think too is taking the opportunities, especially in New York City, where we see billboards and we see these Juuls in every bodega, and you'll be take those opportunities when you see it, rather than here's our dinner table discussion tonight. Here's the Juul. That you use real life experiences to be able to introduce these conversations, and it seems more natural and less threatening to your teen, because they don't want to talk to us to begin with.
They don't want to be lectured, for sure.
And so I think it's kind of oh God, what do you think about that billboard, or what do you oh, look at this, something, however that. So Nancy, I appreciate that, and I do think it is these conversations, and
I think that's great when they're younger. I mean, I don't remember the last time that I've been to a bodega with Henry, because he's 14. And so
he's running around.
He's running around and doing his own thing. And so I think where this all happened for us was we kind of, at least for me, missed that opportunity where I could have been more of a learning. My younger son, I definitely have the conversations with him when we're in stores and can see the product. But I think, can you, like Nancy's doing with her kids younger, I think that's...
It is key. Well, I know you have a teen, Nancy, or I believe you do, close to it.
And I think in New York, we also, there's a ton of pot in just in our day-to-day walking, and I really try to point it out to the girls, do you smell that smell? That's and then we talk about, so, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Take a deep
It's
breath.
everywhere.
So, I mean, I think the more you can talk about it as opposed to like,
Right.
now we are going to lecture
Yeah.
about vaping, the
Right.
better it's going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you guys do if the school calls you and says, you know what, Nicole, we found, I'm not going to name names in my daughter's class,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we found your daughter and two of her friends after track practice with a juul. And the school's policy, I think they have a suspension policy. I'm not positive. I should probably look into that. So, I mean, I would probably say off the bat, I don't think I would go completely berserk on the first try. I think I would.
No freaking out.
Yeah, I mean, kids. Every kid is going to do something stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, if we think we're
Yeah.
going to get away without
Yeah.
some idiotic behavior between
Right.
now and college, best of luck to you.
Wake up.
So I think to your point, like I try not to go berserk, but I just reinforce like these are our family rules. There would certainly be some punishment, and then I would probably bore them to tears with science.
Right.
What would you do?
No, I wouldn't be boring anybody to tears with science. I think that's, and I respect that. I think that you have athletes. You have a daughter who is, you know, I think she needs to know those. But I know my daughter would tune out. She'd be like, what, you know, that would not resonate with her. I think, and I definitely would not have a punishment with it. I think the punishments, if they are there, have to fit the crime. And so what is that crime? Your crime is you tried something, so you take the juul away. That makes sense. But I'm not of that mind of punishing ever. I think it's more of, you know, I trust you. I want to trust you more. If this is not what we are accepting in the household. I'm not condoning this, but I understand that you want to experiment with these things. And if you're going to do this, let's talk about it. That's it. That's what I ask, because taking her phone away or taking something away is only going to drive her, and it doesn't fit. It doesn't equate to changing behavior, and they know that. They know that punishments do not change behavior, ever. So that's my perspective.
And what about you, Brooke?
Well, I mean, in that scenario, if the school's calling and they are doing the crime, there's a suspension that's probably happening.
That's great from a
piece.
school base.
So
Yeah.
then you've got that. You've got a bit
Yeah.
of that embarrassment built in with the fact that you're not in school,
Yeah.
and people know why, and they're talking about it. So I think part of that is good. I think for me, I do feel like there's got to be a piece that's memorable. So
Yeah.
if that suspension, maybe for some kids that's mortifying and that's enough.
Yeah.
And I think for some other kids, they need a little bit more. And I think it really depends on your child.
On your kid. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And then I think this has been a great conversation. And my last thing would be, so it's also just not a one and done. It's not like potty training, like where things were much simpler when they were younger. Like, okay, now you're potty trained, or now you know how to use, like, you know, you've got your phone number memorized, or you know, whatever the case may be. So it's so ongoing. And rather than like constantly harping on like all the challenges of being a teenager, how do you balance that out with like it's exciting to be a teenager?
Yes.
Sherry, some
Yes.
wisdom.
I mean,
I think you're really good at this. I think this is where I struggle.
I mean, some wisdom. I think it is really focusing, even when they're little, we tend to want to focus more on negatives than the positives. So what is it in their life that is positive, and just reinforcing that constantly versus when they walk through the door and it's like, you feet smell, did you do your homework? Junk did you eat today? It's more like shifting that and just being like, wow, you look really...
Wow, those feet smell good.
Yeah. But like, you've really done a great job getting home on time, or, finding something positive it's like exhausting, guys. Like, I'm not kidding. But if you have tips out there, please tell us what you're doing to keep your kid feeling good about themselves and not feeling like so overwhelmed by everything that we hear in the world today that they're facing and we as parents are trying to even understand. So that would be my tidbit. One thing a day.
I think that's good. That reminds me, in pre-K, my son came home with a sticker. They would give out these stickers, and it said "Caught being good," and I think about that a lot.
Yeah,
like because that's you really want to catch your kid doing a good thing.
Good thing. That's right.
So what is that? Is it in teenage years? What does that mean?
Yes.
Is it holding the door for someone in your building, saying hello to the doorman?
That's right.
What are those little things that add up to big things? And when they know you're noticing those little things.
It builds their self-esteem. It builds their looking.
Somebody's saying
there you go.
Yoga. Yeah.
Yoga.
That's a good melody.
Yoga's great. Meditation, we're loving Headspace in my household. I have to say, love it, plugging Headspace, because if they can get 5 minutes, it really changes my son, who has been listening to it. It puts him to sleep, it relaxes him. It's hard to introduce it now, I think, for my 14-year-old, because she's like, it's too corny, but start it young if you can, especially for people who have a lot of anxiety or kids who have anxiety. So Nancy's talking to us again. I can't see it though.
They had a tough year academically. I can't read the whole comment. Well, I'm sorry you had a tough year academically, Nancy. So my tip would be, one thing that I try to do is giving them like a little bit more freedom with every year. So, the upside of being a teenager is that you get to take the metro by yourself, and that she can have more apps on her phone, or she gets more spending money. There's a lot of great things that come with being a teenager as well. Yeah. She has much more say in like her electives in school. So, I try to point out the positive sides of getting older. The harder things is she's got to make decisions that have pretty big consequences with them. As it said, each cartridge of juul is the same as smoking a pack of cigarettes. Amount of nicotine.
So remember, the cartridge is this size.
So that's basically
that's an empty
nicotine of a pack of cigarettes.
I figured out how to insert the other one, by the way, guys. It goes at the bottom of it. But yeah, so that's like, there's not hardly anything in there, but it goes in like that, and then it connects to the top. It's magnetic. But anyway,
so. I want to thank everybody for being a part of our first Teen Talk.
Yes.
Sherry, what do we
We
have
didn't
coming
show
up?
these.
You want to show more e-cigarettes?
No, I just wanted to show really quickly this other one, because I think this is important. These come in flavors. So this one is strawberry. And then, so you buy the pen like this versus the separate. And these aren't called Juuls. I don't even know what these are called, right? These are just different kinds of vapes. They're vape pens. And this one is apple.
And I gotta say, on the e-cigarette industry, these are 100% being marketed to kids.
100%.
Yes.
And if anybody knows the cost, like that's the other thing. I have no idea what these vape pens cost, but these are very popular. When you say 10% are smoking in 8th grade, I believe that 100%. They're
probably higher in New York City.
It's higher in my
because
school.
there's
That's all I know.
It's bodegas all over. I mean, they have more access to it. I think if you're in a suburban school where you don't have,
you're taking the bus.
You don't have any other choice.
It's one of these things. But don't think that even in suburban schools that there's not kids. There's probably just fewer, and the same thing with rural schools. So.
But yes, anyway, so we're excited to share Momtrends as a teen and now our teen issues. And so we have lots coming up, everything from conversations about sexuality, mental health, anxiety, passion. That's Nicole really wanted to talk about passion, so I put that on the calendar.
As in giving finding your
passion.
Digital use.
Digital use, screen time. We had that as one. So we have a lot of really great topics. We'd love to hear from you, some of your solutions for moms and parents out there. We'll share that. It's good. We're excited.
So thank you so much for being a part of our first ever, and we will be back in about a month.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.